Hey guys, how are we getting on today? So today I'm here with Bernard O'Hare. So Bernard has been on a bit of a life journey himself. He's been through, I suppose, lots of ups and downs in his life. He's struggled with mental health issues. He's actually been on the stage on TED Talk and shared his own story there. And he's actually doing some amazing stuff for the homeless people here in Cork. So it's a pleasure to have you with us, and thank you so much for giving us your time actually to come on sharing your story. So welcome, Bernard.
Good morning, Stephen. How are you?
Not bad, no at all. I suppose so. Just to kind of give people a bit of an insight to you and your journey and things you've been through, because you have spoken in a few different stages around the place and you shared your story a lot. So I suppose, like, what was life like for you growing up?
I was happy enough as a young fella. There was a lot going on. Don't get me wrong, at home, stuff like that, and then um, stuff happened in school and stuff. I suppose that's where things really changed. I
Yeah,
seem to have went on a bit of a downward spiral after that for a number of years. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't all bad, but a lot of ups and downs and stuff like that.
yeah. I think like normally when kind of people go through these journeys of ups and downs, it all kind of starts in around your teenage years or even younger. Like, was there kind of specific things happening in school? Was it bullying or something like that, or?
Well, without, I suppose, going into it too much at the moment, I have a case going on, you see, because stuff happened in school, if you know what I mean, with
Yeah,
a teacher and stuff. So, um, yeah, after that, then I suppose it's an awful thing to say, but from say 12, 13 on, then like one of my biggest regrets in life is, I suppose we'll talk about it as we're going along, but one of my biggest regrets in life was throwing away my education. I had a number of opportunities in the teenage years. Getting into trouble in different schools and just things like that. So that kind of really set the tone, if you know what I'm trying to say.
yeah. And like, did you end up finishing school? Did you do your exams and stuff?
No, to be honest, I know how to say this right without like obviously take it serious, but not make a joke of it. But I actually was in two different secondary schools, like first years. So I didn't do my junior cert or anything like that. I think I got an equivalent to it in certain subjects then in a Ridge then after that, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
But yeah, after that, then I suppose I actually moved up to Donegal when I was 17 to do a chefing course. Um, that was the thing about my education, as what I was just saying. I never seemed to finish out much. Do you know that sort of way?
yeah. And
So
were you someone that kind of found it hard to actually sit down and read books and study and all that kind of stuff, or did you just kind of give
well,
up on the whole idea of school?
I just totally gave up on the idea of school. I suppose it was the authority side of things too. After what happened, like
Yeah,
don't get me wrong, there was some great teachers in different schools and teachers that I would have warmed to, if you know what I mean, to try to take me under their wing and look after me and stuff. But um, no, I just threw it all away, to be honest. But don't get me wrong though, and I suppose this is probably sounds daft, but I would class myself as highly intelligent. I love reading at home. I watch a lot of talks. I watch a lot of speeches. I read a lot. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I
yeah.
suppose I try to self-educate myself to a certain degree.
Yeah, but no, I think that's amazing that you do that. And I know like there's a lot of people as well. Like I spoke to a fella only about a month or so ago that he kind of gave up around junior cert level as well, and he kind of regretted it. But it was the same kind of thing. It was about all self education now and showing that you don't necessarily have to be good at school to actually create a future for yourself. It's about kind of really finding things that you're interested in, finding your passions, and actually really diving into that.
Mm.
And I suppose, like, even like when you kind of left school and stuff like that, did you have an ambition? Did you have some idea of a path you wanted to take for yourself?
I did I one thing I always did when I was younger. I used to love working. Once I left school, I loved the idea of earning money. I loved all that goes with it. Um, I would have had many different jobs over the years. I never kind of settled to one thing. I was always kind of jumping from one thing to the next, trying to find I suppose, trying to find my place in the world. What was I good at? What was I going to be good at? Or, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
And yeah, chopping and changing all the time. I never really settled on one specific area. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I had dreams, I had ambitions, but there was nothing concrete, if you know what I'm trying to say.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I think
So-
jumping from that's another thing I suppose mistakes wise that I didn't sort of settle, if you know, jumping from one situation to the next never gave me read any structure within myself, if you know what I'm trying to say.
yeah. And were you working at that time when you went up to Donegal?
No, well, I tell you what it was is that I originally done like a FOSS course, but it was a catering course, and then I went on to Killybegs. But of course, I left that as well because uh, I suppose actually, just actually reflecting and looking back, that's when I first started really kind of experimenting with drugs and well, alcohol and stuff like that. So again, I threw away that part of my education as well. There was some amazing opportunities. Because after the course, I worked hard on the course when I was up there, and then there's only a few people selected to work in the actual hotel then, and I actually happened to be one of them. You know,
Yeah,
so it wasn't as if I never had opportunities too. I could have went a long way with it. I'm actually pretty good at cooking and stuff like that. Um, but yeah,
yeah. So you went on a bit of a different path then, and
oh, absolutely, yeah.
and you were saying there. So that's kind of when you kind of started off experimenting with drinking, taking drugs, and stuff like that. And where what kind of a path did that lead you on, or where did that bring you to?
Absolutely, totally destructive. And that's not trying to be stereotypical about it, or if you know what I'm trying to say. I don't even know how to answer that one correctly because, to be honest, like it tore my family apart. It got me into trouble with the wrong people over the years, and it sets an awful tone because you don't see it at the start, or maybe you do and you just ignore it. If you know what I'm trying to say, because you
Yeah,
choose to one path, and it's an absolute path of destruction. To be honest, um, as I said, now causing problems with his family, relationships, jobs. It, it was like drinking drugs came first and everything else was second. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And like, how long did that actually go on for?
I'd say, well, I left Sligo in 2010, but Sligo was where I'm from originally, but I left that in 2010, so you could pretty much say 12, 13 years
Yeah.
along that lines.
So you were on
Um,
that path for 13 years, and during that time, were you like, what were you doing to make money, or what were you doing to kind of survive within that time?
to be honest with you, it's probably not the most glorious answer to give, but like, don't get me wrong, I had jobs in between,
Yeah,
but also I got involved in like that as well, and stupid other things that, again, was totally destructive. So, um, I suppose the more I got into it, the less I needed work. If you know what I'm trying to say,
yeah, yeah,
I had an excuse not to work, or it seemed like that was the easy life.
yeah. And do you, because of you went you because you were saying there a minute ago that kind of drinking drugs came first, would you say you were kind of addicted to drinking drugs, or was it?
Yeah, no, I was actually only thinking about this last night, that where I was trying to pinpoint exactly where I went wrong. I was having a bit of a bad day yesterday, and I was kind of going, yourself. I suppose when you're kind of on your own, you kind of start reflecting. But the problem with me is I reflect too much, guilt and stuff like that. So, I mean, it first started off with, I suppose, smoking marijuana or hash, that sort of way,
Yeah,
and then it progressed then to, amphetamines or cocaine and prescription drugs as well. That was my biggest downfall. Um, it wasn't always like that with the prescription drugs, but at the start it kind of was.
And is that because they were kind of easy to grab hold of, or like you could just pick them?
Well, because of the people I knew and people I suppose where I was from, and that's not slagging the area, because I love it, you know yourself, but I had, I could have get anything I wanted within minutes, that sort of way.
Yeah,
So it was too easily accessed. I mean, if it was a lot more difficult, no, my personality, if it was a lot more difficult, I would have just gave up, that sort of way.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so.
And so you were kind of living in this lifestyle, so of drinking drugs, and that was kind of you. So what kind of led you on a path to kind of start to step away from it, or was there, I suppose, was there a moment when you said, fuck this, I need to do something?
Well, there was, to be honest with you. I'm 37 now. I do have to think what age I am sometimes. But
Geez, you
I'm
don't look a day
37.
over 30.
Huh?
You don't look a day over 30.
Oh, and you're only trying to be nice to me now because we're doing this. Be quiet. um, no, I was about 26, 27. So, yeah, I'm actually gone 10 years this year. So I was what 27 and sorry, 26 at the time. My apologies. And I got into some serious, serious trouble with the kind of people you don't want to get in trouble with, you know. And it came to a breaking point. I was under that much threat of violence, and then I suppose the amount of drugs that I was taking, I just lost my mind, to be honest. And I got involved. Then someone set me up at a rehab in Sligo.
Yeah,
Did you know? Would you believe I actually didn't know anything about NAA up until 2010. And how that happened was actually, it's not funny, but actually how I came about to know it, you know. But yeah, things got so bad. I was under so much pressure from these people, and just everything was falling apart. And there's probably some stuff I couldn't repeat here now, you know yourself. But
yeah,
it culminated in I was actually going to a place in Italy called Community Shanaklo. It's a religious type run rehab. And whenever I say this to people or try to tell the story, they're like, Jesus, you must have had a fortune going off to Italy. No. If you look it up yourself, you'll see how it works. But I got this, I was waiting on a passport, an express passport, you see, because up until 2010, I never left Ireland. And I've only left Ireland once, and that was actually to go to rehab, But I became under such pressure because I had to wait 10 days or so, for the passport. And then just one day, I went to a GP because I couldn't handle the pressure. And then I remember something being said to me in the meeting, and then I just decided then going home that that was it. I couldn't do it anymore. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
So I ended up trying to take an overdose, and I ended up basically I woke up the next morning. I was actually in a mess, and I think, and I hope this comes out right because I'd never want to promote anything like that, but I was, I suppose, being honest about the mental health side of things and the addiction that I didn't want to wake up. I was absolutely raging that I did because although I had, although I was due to go away, I just, I actually didn't want it. And in the end, that sort of way.
yeah,
And next morning, the passport was there, and 3 days later, I was gone. And you know, up until my mum passed away 2 months ago, I never went home again for 10 years, So the mental health from that side of things was just, I couldn't even describe it. Like, that's when I first entered into homelessness. Like, well, I was in Italy for about so anywhere between 8 and 9 months. And then because of all the trouble was going on at home and stuff like that with some bad people and that I didn't have anywhere to go. So I got set up at a place, the Ladies Bridge, and things just went from there, really.
yeah. And do you think, like going back to the overdose thing, do you think that was a fear of the people that were kind of looking for you, or was it the pressure you had on yourself, or was it the fact that you knew you were kind of addicted to this kind of lifestyle that you found it hard to get out of? What do you think really was it that kind of drove you to taking that overdose?
To be honest with you, it was the pressure of from certain people what they were doing, and I kind of knew what they were capable of. Something happened a couple of years before that with one of the same people, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'll say it quickly. I was basically kidnapped, like, and tied up in a house for a few hours, and so I knew what they were capable of. We had a lot of stuff happen over the years and things like that, and well, and it's not getting away from it. Was I in fear? I'm not proud to admit it because I'm a bit outspoken and stuff like that now, so I kind of feel sometimes when I'm saying it, I feel a bit embarrassed to say it, but I just couldn't go on. I actually felt like a fucking loser all the time. I just felt like a disgrace. I felt like no one would trust me anymore. I felt like, those people there was always people there that loved me, but when you don't love yourself, it's hard to see the other people love you, if that makes sense. That wasn't the first time that I actually tried self-harming or that was the most serious one, you know.
Yeah.
It started, my first problem started after what happened in school and stuff. And I remember it was about 10 or 11 years of age, self-harming. Um, Again, not to glorify it or give anyone any ideologies, there was no child at that age should have to go through that. And there was stuff going on at home. My parents were splitting up at the time, and I suppose your man involved set the tone for the rest of my life in terms of fear, in terms of self-belief, self-doubt. You know what I'm trying to say? Maybe I hope I'm projecting this right, but yeah.
So it was kind of mental. You were kind of mentally scarred, so at an early age, and then that kind of stayed with you. Would that be right to say?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I became so, how would you say, aggressive. I became aggressive. I became out of control. Like, I wasn't me. That sort of way. I don't know. I haven't been right since. That sort of way.
Yeah. But what I love about your story is where you're at now. Because
Yeah.
from like the first time myself and my brother Ronan met you, and you're out and you're doing the homeless runs, and you could see the passion that you had for helping people and helping people that have absolutely nothing, people that are on the streets and people that have addictions and stuff like that. Like you could see that you have a big heart for helping people and making an impact on people, and it's people that have nothing, so you're not expecting anything in return. And that's what I found about you. That's why your story is so inspiring. Is that from where you came from, and that it's not about, like, you're not the person you were before. We all have the ability to learn, to grow, to become so much more. And the Bernard that was there 10, 15 years ago, whatever, isn't the same person you are today. And it's really about the reflection about who you are at this very moment in time. It's not about who you were last week or the last year or the last 10 years. It's about who you are now and the path that you choose to take now moving forward.
Well,
I just find that really inspiring about you.
But the way I see it, no, I appreciate your words. When to describe why I am the way I am now about caring and stuff like that is that, like, I don't get me wrong, I always cared, but I don't think I've cared so much in any level of my life until I came to Cork, and because been through all I've been through, that when I first entered homelessness.
So we're back again. We kind of lost you there for a second. I don't know what happened, but I'm sure we can try and pick it back up wherever we were anyway. You were on about coming to Cork and saying Cork is way better than Sligo.
Yeah. Let's not go too far. I actually can't say that about it. My dad's from Sligo, but my mum's originally from Doneraile, so I'm 50% Cork. I even got the accent perfected. But no, I tell you, the reason why I done it was the reason why I'm trying to be the way I am now is that been through what I've been through in my life. I really don't think, and I'm not saying I have all the answers when it comes to homelessness, but people don't understand what it does to you. I was in the hospital. I was homeless 3 times. Well, when I say 3 times, like in the hostel at 3 different stages between 2011 and 2015. You
Yeah.
know,
Were you ever actually on the street?
I was, yeah. No, not to the extent that some people are, and that's not saying I'm better than anybody. I just, I tell you how I was on the street was that the first time round the hostel wasn't too bad, you know. Um, there was a lot of people good to me, etc. Because to do my story, I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any friends when I came to Cork. I didn't. I was isolated, you know, that sort of way. And then I suppose the second and the third time that I was in there, I kind of became a bit more outspoken, which is probably hard to believe, but you get sanctioned and stuff like that, which means you'd get put out for a number of hours, or you get put out overnight. And I would have slept rough a couple of times there in the city. Just I try to find the most isolated spot or the most quiet spot, that sort of way. And I didn't really sleep when I was out, so um, that was difficult. Um, yeah, as I said, the first time around wasn't too bad, but the second and third time, I kind of that's where I started to lose a lot of friends that I would have made through the hostel, etc.
Yeah.
Uh, so, and I suppose then over the years as well, like having sort of lost jobs and had you know, ended up in little bed sits and the most tiniest of rooms, and I suppose it just culminated in going through my own experiences, been rejected from here, there, everywhere. And, I actually, a bit like mental health and the stigma, there was a stigma attached to homelessness where that if I went for, like, I tried to get jobs when I was still in the hostel, and me being naive, I was like, oh, some people were saying, oh, don't tell anyone you're in a hostel, don't tell anyone you're homeless. I was like, why, what did I do wrong? Do you know, that sort of way?
Yeah.
I didn't understand what homeless, I literally, like, like NA, I didn't know about it until I was, what, 26? I didn't know anything about homelessness. I was like, what is homelessness? Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's like, how could anyone not have a home? Or, do you know, that sort of way, be it your fault or not? And I just had some pretty horrendous experiences within the hostel, and then sort of trying to build my life back up. It seemed like it was rejection after rejection, and you know, um, just knockback after knockback. And you know, I remember a number of times breaking sobriety in there too. Do you know, that sort of way? And it was awful. It's very hard to actually describe sometimes what life was like within the system. You know, it's only when you start kind of volunteering and stuff like that that you get to sort of stand on the outside looking in. I would have started off volunteering with penny dinners provided, and then I found out about this group, as you know yourself. That's how I met yourself and Ronan. And then I couldn't handle this every second Friday night thing. Do you know what I mean? I was like, just 7 days in the week. Why couldn't it be done more? Why can't it? Whatever, you know.
Going out actually helping the homeless, was it?
What's that? Sorry.
Helping the homeless, was it? Was only every second week, was it?
Yeah, well, every second Friday there was a group,
Oh,
you
okay, yeah.
know, and this is where I come in for a lot of criticism. Like, oh, you know, it was only been done 1 night a week until we came along, and that's just a personal choice. And people don't listen to me sometimes when I say this. I wasn't never trying to be arrogant about it. That it, when, as I said, it was only been done every Friday night, you know. So I remember one night sitting at home going, I actually can't wait anymore. So I think I had like 10 or 12 quid in my pocket. So I went down to Tesco and I just got like 2 loaves of bread and a bit of butter and ham and a bit of Swiss roll. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's how it went. That's where it went from there, you know.
And you set up then the group then to go around, and you're out now nearly every night.
Yeah, I was sent out as the group's called Reaching Out. I set it up because, and I hope this comes out right. I look at it from giving them a voice, or giving us a voice, because one thing people say to me is, "Oh, don't do too much and this and that, and move on forward with your life." It's very hard or easy to say that if you haven't been in it, and then when you're in it, and then you watch all this sort of not sort of, but tragedy that goes on around you. I mean, I lost in the early years. I lost a friend to suicide, and another night I was in the hostel and I said goodnight to a guy who came in just before the 10 rule, and he had a few drinks on him, whatever, and I couldn't make much sense of what he was saying, you know. I says, never mind. I says, forget about it, B. I'll talk to you in the morning, you know, that sort of way. Gave him a hug and it was like, good night, boy, you know. And then the next morning, seeing him being brought out in the body bag, you know, that really kind of struck me. And I think not because they're not my family, if you know what I mean, blood, but I look at it like that, you know, and that's one of the most important attitudes I've had in it. So I suppose one of the main inspirations for starting up the group, and it wasn't just that it was only been done on a Friday, it was that how do you stop it? You know,
Yeah.
there must be a way of stopping it. There must be some sort of mechanism or system or something. So yeah, I ended up starting with that, and it just kind of snowballed from there, you know.
You know, that's absolutely amazing. You've got a Facebook page as well called Reaching Out, isn't it?
Hmm. And so what I do there, yeah, reaching out is the name of it. So what
Yes.
I do is
If
that
anybody wants to
I
jump
hope,
on and check out Bernard's page, just jump on to look up Reaching Out. But I'll be putting a link anyway in the description of the podcast and stuff, so you'll be able to see it there.
yeah, and you know what you'll see from the page as well as sometimes I get criticism, but not a whole lot to be honest with you. But that I'm very outspoken. I tend to curse the odd time as well, but you know that's where I actually found a lot of personal growth as well. In that, like I was pointing a lot of fingers at the start. You know, oh, you're to blame, you're to blame, everyone was to blame. Do you know that sort of way? But I became a lot more, well, at times, anyways, I became a lot more, what's the, geez, every time I try to use a big word, I get stuck. Um, yeah, I just became a lot more structured, if you know what I'm trying to say. Like,
Yeah,
I do a lot of live feed videos because everybody, for me, anyways, and again, this is just all of a personal experience. This is not up against anybody, if you know what I mean. That, like, I don't want to just hand people food packs or I don't want to just, you know, give people food and run. You know, one of the things I found was that when I was homeless and even when I was in the hostel, again, as I said, not knowing anyone, was that I'd walk around for hours and hours, and there was a certain few people within shops and stuff. I don't know if you know James Toomey. He runs the Boys and Girls in Akka page. Like James would have had a shop in town there years ago, and I was in going, "Oh, how much is that? Oh, jeez, how much is that?" Do you know?
yeah,
And it was just to have a chat. And I suppose what reaching out is that I use all this stuff now, do you know? Um, but with the videos and stuff like that, anyone can write a text message, anyone can write, you know, a post, and you don't get to see the face. So I kind of hope that by doing it the way I'm doing it, that not only gives them a voice, but it really kind of shows what it's like. And yeah, like I mean, I got some amazing support. We got some amazing support. There's another girl, Tanya Burke, she runs the group with me. And, you know, we've had to put up with a lot of stuff, if you know what I'm trying to say, to use a better word, for doing what we're doing. But we just saw her through it, you know. Did it affect me at times? Of course it did. But um it's really important for me. Like again, it's not about being a hero, I'd give it me life, you know. To start a group up, it's like a business in a way that people, you know, when you're starting a business, if you're really committed and you really want to see it work, then you'll do everything it takes. Like I've often sold my own belongings because at the start, to buy stuff or buy supplies, because I was determined to make it work, you know, and we got some amazing opportunities then, you know.
that's absolutely incredible. And like you've been on TV now as well a few times with interviews, and been on the radio numerous of times, and so
Oh, that I had to laugh, not laugh, but you know, it was going back to it. Actually, one of the first ones I had was actually in 2017. Was the TEDx talk. But if you remember a couple of months before that, what happened on the run the night that we were out, about the guy, you know, ended up having to talk him down off the bridge.
yeah,
And that was, you know, we done an interview. I think, yeah, I done an interview with Neil Prendeville on the Monday. But that was actually, excuse me.
that was one of the toughest weekends going. But I applied. I remember sitting at home one night and I was watching. I love TED Talks. There's so, like I just find them amazed. You know, seeing people's like there could be one topic like homelessness or addiction or abuse, and it's just hearing everybody's different perspective or opinions. And I said one, I was saying to myself, I'd love to do something like that. I'd actually, and then I all of a sudden then I seen an ad on Facebook going they were looking for TEDx speakers in Dublin in Halfpenny Bridge for 2017, and I was like, "Frick it, I can go on that." I'll try and apply it. So what I done was I just applied and I told him a little bit about myself, and then over the next couple of weeks or months, sort of interview process and stuff like that. So when they told me that I was accepted, I was like, whoa, do you know what I mean? That really kind of set the tone. It's not a talk that I watch a whole lot, to be honest with you, because I think I could have done it a little bit more justice, but look, that's a learning curve. And then, of course, what happened then in the September, I think it was, with Stormophilia. Do you remember Stormophilia? And Paul Walsh there from Three Piggies Cafe down beside, it's Union Quay. And anyways, we done the thing with Stormophilia, and then all of a sudden, I remember getting a call off the Late Late Show. That was actually mad. I actually thought it was a wind-up at first, and you wouldn't believe what I said to the person on the phone at the start. But anyways, there was a few F words used because I thought it was a wind-up. But anyways, it turned out to be right, and went like that, and I became friends with some of the people there in RTE there in Cork, through Nationwide, and Shirley Murphy, she's an absolutely lovely lady, and she was saying that they were saying, wouldn't it be great if you could do a talk or something or do a show with us? And I was like, yeah, because I don't know if you've noticed, I can talk for Ireland. That's one of my many talents. I never stood up me, but no, so I done that as well, and I've had some amazing opportunities. Like I've done a talk up in LinkedIn headquarters in Dublin. I've done a couple here in Cork. Uh, TV media. I do a lot of stuff with Cork's 96 FM with PJ on the opinion line. And that actually, I actually started doing radio interviews before I done stuff like that. That sort of way. So I think that by the chance that they gave me and the belief that they showed me, that really kind of helped me both mentally in self-belief and confidence in actually talking. Do you know that sort of way?
Yeah.
And what I found was every time, without fail, every time I done media, every time I done radio interviews, I'd always get contacted by people who not give me advice or anything like that. They were just, thank you. And that's what I find when they talk about homelessness or mental health the way I do. I don't use big fancy words, if you know what I'm trying to say. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I just try to say it as it is as such. So I'm kind of proud of that. And not kind of, I am proud of that because it really shows that people, I'm not the only one, number one. And number two, other people out there understand,
Oh, no,
And
definitely.
I went through many years of rejection, as I said, becoming homeless, that I kind of, you wouldn't believe the amount of times I gave up. We're great friends outside of this, and I've always talked with yourself and Ron, especially yourself, about stuff, and you know where I'm coming from. So getting them opportunities and getting that belief was really, really helped me an awful lot.
I think this kind of reflects back to what I said there a second ago, that it doesn't matter where you were before or what you went through, it's all about who you are now. And it's like, I get goosebumps there listening to you after saying all the stuff that you've been through. And like normally when you kind of look at someone like that, you think, right, they're not going to be on any positive path in their life. They're just kind of in complete destruction. But now hearing where you are now, it just kind of shows that it doesn't matter. It like anybody that goes through anything in their life, it really doesn't matter where they're at. The main thing is that it's about, like I said before, focusing on a passion, finding something that's going to be uplifting for you and something that's going to drive you in a positive direction, which is something that's kind of really happened for you. And I'm absolutely amazed by it.
Well, there was a lot of times where I did give up, Stephen, broke sobriety, or I went back down the road of mental health, issues, pressure got to me. there was times where I had to stop the runs, stuff like that. Because one thing I promised myself from the very start is that if I ever felt like I did over the years when I was doing the runs, I'd stop it, because I never want to go out there and project it. So I haven't been like, not in a negative way. I've had a few ups and downs, As I said to you then as well, just before Christmas, Mum was sick, and stuff, and then she passed away there in January. So that kind of stopped me in my tracks as well. So and I have been going through Pieta House as well for the last few months. So I have a lot of my own problems, that sort of way. But basically what I'm trying to say is that I think with enough self-belief that I built up over the years and having a network of friends where I know it is okay not to be okay, that really stood me a lot, People always give me credit or say that, I don't take enough credit. I'm grateful for the people who showed me the kindness, so it's not just all about me, that sort of way. I didn't just do it all on my own, so to speak. So,
I think it's absolutely amazing what you've done now. I suppose just kind of to wrap it up there now, because I just want to, for people that are going through mental health issues at the moment, what kind of advice would you have for anybody? Especially people that may be kind of keeping it to themselves and going through their own kind of ups and downs.
Well, the way I look at that is now, going forward, I have dreams and ambitions, talks, stuff like that. But the best advice I can give is I always, over the years, this thing about people that fall through the cracks in the system and stuff like that, or people that don't have info about this person does this sort of therapy or that place does, I've used Samaritans an awful lot. When I feel like I can't talk to people, I pick up the phone and I ring them. And then what that allows me to do is to be able to pick up the phone to say you or somebody else. So I suppose the best advice, or what I try to do, is link people in with services, that sort of way, so they don't fall through the cracks in the system. I mean, I've no shame in saying that I use Samaritans, or I've no shame to say that I've contacted Pieta House a number of times. And one of the hardest things to do when you're going through mental health, or if you have, suicidal tendencies or self-harming, that is picking up the phone or talking to somebody else. And I suppose the best advice I can give anyone really is just know that people really do care, and people really will listen. You will always get people that may not, but I know myself that it is okay not to be okay. I know there is help out there, and if I hit a rocky patch in the road, I'd rather take a week out, 2 weeks out, or a month out, and then go forward, rather than just succumbing to it and then just not ever giving a shit again, or not, do you know what I mean? Just giving up. So again, as I said, the best advice I can give to people is just reach out and, look up services, look up linking with people who know about services and things like that, and, kind of go from there, really,
Yeah. All right, Bernard. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you so much for being so open and honest and sharing your story and stuff like that. Like I said, I'll put up the links to your Facebook pages and stuff like that so people can check you out. But yeah, again, thank you so much for your time today.
Anytime at all, buddy. Thank you for everything you've ever done, for your friendship and everything, and for always listening. And yeah.